Trino's Choice, Chapter 2, School Types. Every muscle in Trino's body tightened as he looked beyond the book lady into the group entering the room. When they came into the light, though, Trino realized there wasn't Rosca and his gang. It was only 3 boys and a couple of girls. They all talked at the same time, greeting the book lady as if she was someone they all knew. "So, are we too early or too late or what?" one boy asked her. "You're a day off. Emil said comes tomorrow," the book lady said. A girl with a red shirt slugged the boy in the shoulder. "I told you, Jimmy. I said the poetry man was coming on Saturday." "No harm done. You can all come back again," the book lady said, and they looked back at Trino. "Can you come tomorrow too?" Now all the kids were staring at him. He could have given them the ojo, but decided not to blow his schoolboy story with the book lady. He passed his eyes over theirs like when he was just looking but not buying. He shrugged his shoulders together. "Who's this, Maggie?" asked the nice-looking girl with thick black hair. She wore it loose and wavy over her shoulders. The book lady's hand dropped on Trino's back. "He's doing a book report on one of Rivera's books. Name's... What did you tell me? Sorry?" Okay, let's make sure it focuses in. "They call me Trino," he said, and couldn't take his eyes off the girl with the black hair. "What was her name?" The girl gave him a little smile, then turned to look at the books in the shopping cart. "I might buy a book tomorrow. Have anything interesting, Maggie?" "Everything in that basket's interesting, hun," the book lady said as she joined the girl at the cart and started rattling on about books like a librarian. "You go to Carson, man?" the boy called Jimmy asked Trino. Trino barely nodded his head. He had seen them around, 7th graders like himself. He knew their type okay, the kind teachers liked. Answered questions, did their homework. Not the kids he'd choose for friends. Probably couldn't pick a lock or pound a soda machine until it paid off. He never had hassles from school types, though, probably because he never gave them any trouble. As he stole another look at the girl moving around the books in the shopping cart, Trino wondered if maybe he should pretend a while longer and see what paid off. Suddenly, a small hand brushed over Trino's shoulder, and fingernails painted like green bullets were pointing to the open book. "He's the guy who wrote the book Miss Jimenez wants us to read." Trino said nothing as the girl in the red shirt moved closer to him. He smelled peanut butter when she spoke again. "Do you have Miss Jimenez for class?" Trino muttered no, hoping she'd go away and leave him alone. "Miss Jimenez wants us all to buy Rivera's book. She says he writes about problems in real life. She says even our parents should read his book." The girl talked on like school types usually did, but Trino tuned her out. Page 10. He had no parents who would ever read books. His dad was dead and his mom worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. She had no time to read. The kids in the bookstore had life too easy. If they could only sit inside his house a while, they'd know more about real problems than any book could show them. The girl finally walked off, probably tired of listening to herself. One boy had joined Maggie and the girls at the shopping cart. The other 2 guys were in another spot, thumbing through some books. Trino could still feel their eyes on him, though. Had they spotted Rosca before they came in? Had they guessed that Trino was hiding out? Even if Trino left when the school types did, he knew Rosca would still jump him. School types would just run home scared and leave Trino to die. Then a perfumey smell pushed Trino's vision of his broken body out of his head. He looked up to see the girl with black hair drop a couple of books onto the table. She stood across the table from him, holding another book in her hand. She had small hands, no ugly nail polish, and a small silver ring with a black stone on one finger. He saw the slim brown face with reddish lips, a small nose, and wide brown eyes. Her eyes looked good, not gooped over with black stuff. She puffed out a little laugh when she caught him looking at her. Do you like to read? She seemed to be teasing him. Sure, Trino lied, drumming on the books with his fingers. Me too, she answered. Only this time there was no laugh behind her words. I go to the library, but Maggie has better stuff here. It's worth it to wait and buy my own books. Trino nodded because he didn't know what to answer. What was wrong with him anyway? His tongue seemed to fill up his throat. He wanted to spit, but he sure couldn't do it now. I'm Lesana, the girl said. Trino, right? He nodded again and felt like he had a rubber neck. He swallowed something thick with the taste of egg, red soda, and books. Then he asked her, You go to Carson? Yes, I used to go to Grande. Carson is better. It's 'cause it's new. Grande is older than my abuela. Trino was glad when she smiled. He wasn't sure if her type even knew Spanish. In his neighborhood, Spanish and English words mixed together like mud and water. Pieces of two languages often got him into trouble with schoolwork, especially with the gringo teachers. The two guys in the corner suddenly came over to the table. Trino wondered which one had his claim on Lesana. Trino's back and shoulders tightened as the boy called Jimmy narrowed his eyes. He studied Trino a moment before he spoke to Lesana. If we're going to come back tomorrow, we better go home, Lesana. The boy Jimmy spoke his words carefully, as if there was a secret message stuck between them. You know how Abby gets. Lesana sighed. Yeah, okay, we'd better go. The book lady brought the girl in the red shirt and the other boy up to the table as she came to join them. Did you decide on anything, Lesana? Maybe I'll buy the poetry book tomorrow, Maggie. Trino waited for the book lady to get red-faced or make a growl like the old man at the corner store who got mad when Trino would rub the watermelons or shake a box of cereal but not buy anything. The book lady just picked up the books on the table and said, Emil Montoya is going to be famous someday, and you can tell everyone that you brought a signed copy of his poetry book at this store. Think we could sell his autograph for big bucks like a... Ball players? The boy next to Jimmy said. Think we could sell your brain to science, Albert? Jimmy answered and the other kids laughed. Even Trino smiled. Maggie looped her arm around Albert's shoulder. Emil said we'll start reading at 3. Don't be late, 'cause you'll miss something special. I'm even going to have a bit to eat and drink too. Can't enjoy a good book without a snack. Trino wondered if these kids liked cold eggs and red soda. Lesana and Jimmy both promised the book lady they'd be back tomorrow for the poetry reading. As Trino listened to them, he thought the school types were crazy to want to listen to some man read poetry. Poetry was so dumb, stupid rhymes or broken sentences that made no sense. He'd rather get a slap on the head than try to figure out what some dumb poem meant. The boy started heading out of the room with the book lady, but the girl in the red shirt hung back, tugging Lesana's arm to stay with her. She gave Trino a quick look in the eye, then dropped her gaze to the floor as she said in a quiet voice, I need a copy of Rivera's book for English, Lesana. The library's all checked out and Miss Jimenez wants us to get one by Monday. Will you buy it? Don't you have any money? Miss Jimenez says it's a great book. You can buy it and read it too. I'm just going to borrow it a few days. You're always buying books, Lesana. I need my money to buy something better. Lesana's nose wrinkled up as if she didn't like what the girl said. Then she pushed some air between her lips and shrugged. I'll think about it, Janie. Her eyes looked up to catch Trino staring at her. She gave him a little wave. See you tomorrow, Trino. His body slid back into his chair, but he said nothing. The two girls rushed out after the boys. Suddenly, Trino straightened up like somebody popped him in the back. He needed to get out of here before the crazy book lady started in on him about reading books and listening to poetry. He pushed the chair back and quickly moved to the side wall to peek through the cracks. There was no sign of Rosca or the guys, just the school types leaving the shop in a group, heading back towards the road. Where was Rosca now? Did he go back to the park? Was he waiting behind this building? Trino fingered his throat, wishing he wore a silver medal to give him a little extra help from a santo. He just have to head to the highway and pray some neighbor going home from the blue jeans factory would give him a lift home before Rosca spotted him. Trino's legs seemed wooden as he walked out of the book room, up the crooked ramp and towards the little room in the front where people came into this place. When he saw the book lady at the counter, he felt a pinch inside his head. He still had to get past her. She sprayed some sticky pine cleaner on the glass counter and wiped it up with a towel. Emil said reads at 3. Be here early so you can talk to him. Trino merely stared to let her know he wouldn't be back, but who could see his eyes in this dark place? He wondered how he got so stupid, being caught in a place that was worse than school. There was nothing here for him. He needed to get himself out the door and forget about today. Emil says the best poet around, but no one notices. Last time his reading should have been on TV. It was that good, she said, still wiping off the counter. The book lady kept talking, but Trino was already inching back towards the door. The floor creaked under his feet like some haunted house in a movie. Hopefully he'd get out and home before this bruja cut out his liver and ate it for supper. Trino, the book lady suddenly spoke in a loud voice. Trino's hands clenched into his fist. He knew whatever followed his name would be words he would fight. I want you back here tomorrow. You need to hear Emil say read. Trino ground his teeth together. He hated to be ordered around. I don't have to do what you say. It was the first time he let himself be who he was with her. She had thought his silence meant she could push him around, but he needed to show her different. He reached for the coal handle on the door and jerked it open. If you don't come tomorrow, I will be very disappointed, the book lady said, and Lasana will be disappointed too. Trino just turned around and shot a mouthful of spit out of his mouth. It landed in a muddy splat on the crooked porch, leaving the door open to the dusty heat. He ran behind the building and headed towards the highway. The coolness of the bookstore washed away in big drops of sweat down his face and neck by the time he reached the access road, taking noisy gulps of air. He swallowed down but kept moving, even though he really wanted to sit down in some shady place. The best place for shade was in the park near the school, but Trino couldn't go there today. Rosca could be there, waiting. The guy was older and meaner than any other 8th grader. Trino had heard all the stories. Rosca's raps was well known in the barrio, and Trino knew he didn't want to be the next guy wearing black to his own funeral.